The year is 240 BCE, China. The sky is dark, the stars brilliant. Not a haze of pollution is in sight. Sima Qian, a young boy, watches his father record history in his The Records of the Grand Historian. "Dad, what is that?" Qian asks. Sima Tan looks up to the night sky. "A broom," Tan says simply, diving back into his work. The year is 87 BCE, Babylon. The night is hot, the air dry enough to suck all the clouds from the sky. The tablet inscriber looks up. "Ma'am, what is that?" he asks. The speaker frowns up at the smear of diamond in the sky. "A new era," she replies. She slides her gaze to Tigran the Great. "Our King of Kings has come." The year is 12 BCE, Bethlehem. The sky is breathless, clear, waiting. Balthazar, a wise man, looks up. "Lord, forgive me. What is that?" he asks. The other two wise men look up at the crystal hung like an ornament in the night. "Christ," they return. "He has come." The year is 451, the Battle of the Catalanian Plains. The night is crisp with a bite, and clear, so very clear. "What is that?" asks the Roman cadet. The general looks up to the night. "Victory," he replies. "The death of Attila the Hun is nigh." The year is 1066, London. The spring chill and blowing, lapping River Thames after many a rainfall yields a clear, rare night. Matilda of Flanders approaches her husband as he stands atop their castle's balcony. "Pray, what is that?" she asks. William the Conqueror's lips carve into a smirk. "An omen," he races from the balcony, returns, kisses her on the cheek, then runs again. "A good one. Harold II will die at the Battle of Hastings. Mark my words, Matilda. Mark my words." "I think it's just a star," Matilda mumbles as she draws the curtains closed. The year is 1682, Cambridge. The late summer breeze unfurls like a picnic blanket over the trim lawn. Isaac Newton and his enthusiastic sponsor peer up at the night sky. The sponsor's eyes gleam with the light 4 times the size of Venus, equal to 1/4 of that of the moon. "I dare say. Is that what I think it is?" the sponsor asks. Newton thumps his fist excitedly on the gray stone wall. "You are correct. 'Tis a comet, Halley. A comet." Thus marks the beginning of Halley and his comet. Welcome to Small Anthropoids. Edmund Halley, Edmund Halley, Edmund Halley, Edmundus Halley. Yes, all of these are the different ways Halley spelled his name. English was not yet standardized at the time, so we can only begin to guess how he pronounced it. However, most with the same last name in England today pronounce it to rhyme with valley, so this is a good starting place. He spelled Edmund with a U 22 times versus the 3 times he spelled Edmund with an O, so we'll assume he preferred it with a U. Hence, Edmund Halley. Halley encouraged and helped fund the publication of Isaac Newton's Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica, published 5 years after viewing the comet. Using Newton's law of gravity and 2 other recordings of a similar comet, Halley confirmed that these sightings were, in fact, the same comet. More, he could predict when it would occur again. See, comets were only discovered in 1680, 2 years before that fateful night Newton and Halley observed the bright comet. At the time, people thought comets were like a stone in a slingshot, drawn back, ejected, and sailed on through space in a straight line, never to return. Newton, however, theorized that gravity in space was not a series of straight lines, but spirals, orbits, gravity. Halley took the next leap with Comet 1P, as it was named at the time. He discovered that not only was 1P orbiting around the Sun, but that it orbited in a mostly set amount of time. Therefore, he could predict when it would return again. He made that prediction, the prediction of his life. December 25th, 1758, Christmas Day. That is when Comet 1P returns. There are just two small problems. One, the comet doesn't orbit in exactly 76 years. Depending on Jupiter or Saturn's placement, it can orbit in as little as 74 years or as long as 79. Not to mention calculating the exact date of its return had been impossible. After all, what is a mere 24 hours to a comet that equates its lifetime days to centuries? But Halley gave it a shot. Christmas Day, 1758. That is the day he says 1P will return. However, that leads to the second small problem. That is 53 years from now. Halley is 49 years old. That would mean he would have to live to 102 to find out if he was correct. Lucky for him, he lived to be 103. Just kidding. Isaac Newton and Edmund Halley stand in Cambridge, the same spot they had stood 23 years before. "I won't live to see it," Halley says. "I won't know if I'm right. I was incorrect in my first prediction for the other comet. I made corrections, of course, for Jupiter and Saturn, but I won't have a chance to correct this one. What if my final prediction is wrong too? This is my legacy, Isaac. This could be my one chance at a contribution to science, that my life will have meant something. And I'll never know." Newton traces imaginary circles around the stars he sees, wondering if they too have planets orbiting around them, wondering if they have mass and therefore gravity. Exoplanets won't be discovered for another 300 years. "That's it though, isn't it?" Newton says. Generations of short-lived people like us, pushing the colossal stone further up the mountain to pass off to the next generation in hopes that someone, someday, perhaps millions of years from now, might fully understand why. Halley runs his hands over his sweaty short hair, finally free from the full wig he's had on since he stepped out this morning. "What if I'm not remembered as an astronomer?" he asks. "What if I'm remembered as an insurer, or forgotten totally as some old fool who was wrong? What if I didn't roll the stone up the mountain at all? What if I pushed it further down? What if I defiled the real astronomers who came before me? If only I could know. How will I know?" "Congratulations, my friend," Newton says. "What?" "You are now a real astronomer." Halley died in 1742 at the age of 85. He had just 16 years to go until Comet 1P did or did not return. The year is 1758, December 25th, France. It's Christmas at midnight. You can hear a pin drop. Stars hold fixed in the sky, frozen as if by a thin sheet of ice encompassing horizon to horizon, holding the clouds at bay. The next generation of astronomers hold their breath. "Is that?" the young assistant squints. "I mean, could it be?" He glances at his superior. "Monsieur, what is that?" Nicolas Louis de Lacaille lowers the telescope from his glistening eyes. "Halley's Comet," he says. It is Halley's Comet. To finish off, we'll be reading an excerpt from Edmund Halley's Astronomiae Cometicae Synopsis, or Synopsis of the Astronomy of Comets. Written in 1705 and translated from Latin to English by Oxford, Halley laid out in diligent detail his work in computing the gravitational arc and period with which Comet 1P would return. The excerpt we will read talks about the history of astronomy. More importantly, the previous generations of astronomers that allow Halley to make the predictions he does today. So sit back, relax. So begins a synopsis of the astronomy of comets. The ancient Egyptians and Chaldeans, if we may credit Diodorus Siculus, by a long course of observations, were able to predict the apparitions of comets. But since they also said, by the help of the same arts, to have prognosticated earthquakes and tempests, 'tis past all doubt that their knowledge in these matters was the result rather of mere astrological calculation than of any astronomical theories of the celestial motions. And the Greeks, who were the conquerors of both those people, scarce found any other force of learning amongst them than this. So that 'tis to the Greeks themselves as the inventors, and especially to the great Hipparchus, that we owe this astronomy, which is now improved to such a height. But yet, amongst these, the opinion of Aristotle, who would have comets to be nothing else but sublunary vapors or airy meteors, prevailed so far that this most difficult part of the astronomical science lay together neglected, for nobody thought it worth while to take notice of or write about the wandering, uncertain motions of what they esteemed vapors floating in the ether. Whence it came to pass that nothing certain concerning the motion of comets can be found transmitted from them to us. But Seneca the philosopher, having considered the phenomena of two remarkable comets of his time, made no scruple to place them amongst the celestial bodies, believing them to be stars of equal durations with the world, though he owns their motions to be governed by laws not as then known or found out. And at last, which was no untrue or vain prediction, he foretells that there should be ages some time hereafter, to whom time and diligence should unfold all these mysteries. And who should wonder that the ancients could be ignorant of them, after some lucky interpreter of nature had shown in what parts of the heavens the comets wandered, what and how great they were. Yet amongst all the astronomers differed from this opinion of Seneca. Neither did Seneca himself think fit to set down those phenomena of the motion by which he was enabled to maintain his opinion, nor the times of those appearances which might be of use to posterity, in order to be the determining of these things. And indeed, upon the turning over very many histories of comets, I find nothing at all that can be of service in this affair, before A.D. 1337, at which time Nicephorus Gregaris, a historian and astronomer, did pretty accurately describe the path of a comet amongst the fixed stars, but was too lax as to the account of the time, so that this most doubtful and uncertain comet only deserves to be inserted in our catalogue, for the sake of its appearing near 400 years ago. Then the next of our comets was in the year 1472, which being the swiftest of all and nearest to the Earth, was observed by the Regia Molnus. This comet, so frightful upon account both of the magnitude of its body and the tail, moved 40 degrees of a great circle in the heavens in the space of one day, and was the first of which any proper observations are come down to us. But all those that considered comets until the time of Tycho Brahe, the great restorer of astronomy, believed them to follow below the moon, and so took but little notice of them, reckoning them to be no other than vapors. But in the year 1577, Tycho, furiously pursuing the study of stars, and having gotten large instruments for the performing celestial menfurations, with far greater care and certainty than the ancients could ever hope for, there appeared a very remarkable comet, to the observation of which Tycho vigorously applied himself, and found by many just and faithful trials that it had not a diurnal parallax that was at all perceptible, and consequently was not only no aerial vapor, but also much higher than the moon, nay, might be placed among the planets for anything that appeared to the contrary. Not long after, the great geometrician, the illustrious Newton, writing his mathematical principles of natural philosophy, demonstrated not only that what Kepler had found did necessarily obtain in the planetary system, but also that all the phenomena of comets would naturally follow from the same principles, which he abundantly illustrated by the example of the aforesaid comet of the year 1680. Wherefore, following the steps of a great man, I have attempted to bring the same method to arithmetical calculation, and that with desired success. For having collected all the observations of comets I could, I framed this table, the result of a prodigious deal of calculation, which, though but small in bulk, will be no unacceptable present to astronomers. For these numbers are capable of representing all that has yet been observed about the motion of comets, by the help only of the following general table, in the making of which I spared no labor, that it might come forth perfect, as a thing consecrated to posterity, and to last as long as astronomy itself. That is an excerpt from the synopsis of the Astronomy of Comets by Edmund Halley, as translated by Oxford in 1705. We hope you found that any feelings of small were not scary. Like the universe, we sometimes like to keep our secrets too, so tune in next week for a surprise. Happy 5th episode. If you enjoyed, please smash that like button and give us a 5-star review. It helps other people find our podcast too. As always, stay curious and take care, small anthropoids.